Am I too loud?
No, you're fine. We can turn you down.
I heard Don pretty good. Clarity seems to be good.
Okay.
Okay, we're live.
All right, I call this meeting to order, LaSalle County Finance, and 2:50 at 9 o'clock. First order of business is citizen comment. Is there any citizens wish to appear for the committee? No? All right, there's your chance. Next thing is approval of minutes of prior meetings, right?
Yes.
There's two.
So moved.
By Tom, seconded by Tina. Discussion on this motion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Any capital asset review before the? I'm not aware of any. Nothing's been brought to my attention. So, next thing, getting into the financial reports. The budget. Did everybody get the email that was sent out by Stephanie on the budget? She sent it out on,
Thursday.
yeah. She produced it on the 25th of February. So. Any
Brian,
questions on it?
Brian.
Yeah, Greg?
Yeah, I was wondering, can she produce a report that shows us the monthly expenses? I mean, right now, like, look at a rolling trend. So if we could have
I can.
have a report with the income,
Okay.
look at
so-
trends, being new, you know, if, and Stephanie, you don't have to put cents in there. We can just round it to the dollar.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, Craig, I can do that. The problem is due to the timing of month end and the finance meetings, I have to have the information to Amanda. But then after the finance meeting, since it's usually the second or third of the month, I can produce the full month end reports.
All right, Craig, are you looking more for like a bar graph, kind of, just to kind of see where we are on expenses? More than.
Yeah. Or I can, you know, I mean, if I want to look at one department, if the payroll stays about the same, it should be good. But any spikes in any of the expenses, we can see in the month.
That sounds pretty, does that sound?
Oh, yeah, I can do that. It's just because of when the reports are due, I have to cut it off early. But I mean, I don't mind doing
Stephanie.
it after the fact either. So.
Stephanie, I don't want you to spend 3 hours to do it. Is there a report that
No.
can be generated?
Oh, yeah, no, it's easily generated. It's just, again, it's the
Okay.
whole timing issue of when I have to have them to Amanda. So you'll just get two. You'll get one before the meeting, which will be the up-to-date, that, you know, the 25th or whatever. And then at the beginning of the month, I'll produce another one. So it's not a problem.
All right,
at all.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. There was a couple things we discussed right prior to the meeting. Tina, you brought up about the detention hall. And I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, there is some sort of issue with that. You want to just discuss that at all?
Well, I know we kind of touched base last month, or last meeting, Stephanie, about the overtime in the detention home. Well, I sit on that committee, and when Jay came to do his report, I asked him about it. It seems like right now, the majority of their overtime is coming out of, I believe, I don't have the paperwork in front of me right now, the holiday overtime instead of the regular overtime. So I told Jake to check with payroll and see if they could recode it, but if they couldn't, maybe come to us and maybe we can look at transferring the money into the line item payroll needs to use. That way it doesn't look like they're running it in the red.
I think the way it's transposed, it actually is, holiday overtime is budgeted at $30,000.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, then it's the opposite way
I
then.
think it's a mistake probably more on our end.
Oh, when we did the budget,
When we
okay.
did the budget, that holiday overtime is $30,000, but regular overtime is $5,000.
Yeah, so
So,
we just,
and I'm sure he spent, it says for holiday overtime usage, $249.05.
Yeah.
There's probably errors a little bit on both sides.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I know that he's really not overspent,
Right.
but it does look like he is.
Right, we could adjust it to make it Correct.
So we may see him maybe next month
Okay.
if payroll can't change the line item that they, or he can't change it, or they can't change it. Maybe he'll come here and we'll have to do a transfer and flip the money around where it needs to be. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Or
some
should we
sort
just
of-
let it run in the red? I mean, that's up to you.
We could do some sort of adjustment. So, if anybody's interested, that's page 57,
Okay.
so. Anything else anybody noticed on that? Okay. The next thing is approval of bills, and I've got a few here. This would go into that.
No, that's later on.
Is that later on? Oh, I see. The standard, did everybody have a chance to review the bills from the committee?
Yep, where are they?
Oh, you can see. I didn't see you come in there. Huh?
While we're waiting for Gary to sign, John, we got a bill for CDW. Correct. For about $1,182.38.
Right.
What was that for?
That was the CIC licensing for the new server we had to build. It was discussed at the November 30th finance meeting at about 9:05 to 9:07. It was going to be taken out of emergency fund 001-044-199-001. And it was approved at that moment for you guys to take it out of that fund.
So we've already approved this bill.
Yeah, like I said, approved. I watched on YouTube to find where it was at.
So my question, is this a 2020 expense then?
It'd be a 2021 because it was not, I believe the invoice wasn't dated until December 8th, is when CDW invoiced it, so it falls under 2021.
No, that should really, but it happened in 2020, so it should really be a 2020 bill. Because the server was complete in November, right?
Nope, it was completed December 12th.
Okay.
Okay. So we have to take action on this, let's discuss data.
Do you want me to write that down so we can pay it today, or do you want?
I don't have it done, I'll write it down, we're over that.
Okay.
I guess while we're waiting for bill approval, are there anything, Ryan? Go ahead.
John, is there a particular reason that bills come in roughly 2 months?
With CDW, I always, when I go get the CDW on my mailbox, I would open it and I put it in the right folder. Where it went, that I do not know, because like I said, I get CDW bills once a month, every couple of weeks, and like I said, I always just put them right in whoever's box owes the money, and I highlight what department it is, so they know it's theirs. So I do not know.
Okay.
And then unfortunately, there's no way for me, once I put it in the box, I don't know what the departments are doing with them from there, because I know we have several CDW bills that aren't getting paid, but they're ending up in the boxes, so. I gotta try to figure out a better process. I don't know if the better process is me hand delivering it to the department head, elected official, or what, to make sure these are getting paid in a better timely manner.
Yeah, it looks to me like these bills like this need to be shepherded to the proper department head and make sure that they're taken care of time.
Right, good, which I'll start, like I said, I'll try to come up with a better process.
Okay.
Than what, like I said, what I was doing, was, like I said, I was just put them in their mailboxes instead of hunting down all the departments, make sure it gets to the right person. I'll start hand delivering to them with a better process.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the bills that are presented before you? For finance. Yes. Tina makes that motion. Tom seconds that motion. Is there any discussion on the bills that were Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Are there any new line items, line fund transfers? There is a budget adjustment, but you want to do it under the auditor section, that's fine.
Honey, would you like to do it now, or are you?
I don't care, that's entirely up to you.
Well, let's just do it now.
Okay,
That's all right.
Connie's requesting an increase to her budget line item 001-048,
48, okay.
510,
510,
004,
004.
102.
Oh, gosh.
It's on page 50 of your budget book.
It's under the telephone EMA. Page 50, is that what you said, Connie?
What page is it on?
50.
50.
Yeah, 50.
Okay, and how much would it be?
$1,200. And then the next one is right below that, or shortly, but I think it's 2 spaces down, 510004 551-1, telephone EMA federal. I believe it just has a,
Did you get that?
I hope she has it. Do you have a?
Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, she has the sheet.
Sure.
She has the sheet.
Okay, okay.
and that is also $1,200. And then Connie can explain it's in regards to a grant that she receives.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Connie.
So just to kind of explain this, there was a mistake that was missed by several people. This grant, our EMPG grant, which pays for EMA administration, it's up to 50% reimbursement. So 50% of our phone bills on the county would have been $3,000 divided by 2. And missed a zero, and several of us missed a zero, and it should have been split between the 2 line items. There should have been $1,500 per line item and not $300. Yeah, so like I said, half of the one line item is the county's 50% portion, the other half is the federal grant portion.
Gotcha. Any questions on this? Craig, do you want to approve the budget adjustment?
So approved.
We'll make that motion. Have a second? Gary, is that all right? Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Yeah.
Can I have a copy?
I got a signature sheet here. Craig has WebEx.
So Brian, just so you know, this is gonna be presented to committee on Thursday as well.
Oh, yeah. Alright. Where are my cards? How's that going?
Oh, sorry. It's going well. After the last meeting, I asked Julie to stop sending money, which we have stopped as of January 8th was our last deposit. And I am fine tuning the new credit card amendment to the policy. I currently have Mark working on the Amazon policy and I haven't got that back yet. And, again, we still have $125,000 in the P card balance. So I'm gonna be in touch with the main departments that use it to get all of their sheets, because I need to figure out how much they each had approved by their committees to put in there. Because that's how we're gonna have to divvy up that $125,000. So,
You can just put it right back in the general fund.
I like that
That's
idea.
an easy answer.
That is an easy answer. I mean, it's gonna take some time, but we're hoping to be done with that as soon as I can get the credit card policy amended as well, because,
Yeah, well, that's probably gonna take a couple months, because I mean, you'll have come here and that, it's probably gonna be what, the 5th in the last 10 years, credit card policy change? So it's probably gonna be a couple months, it'll probably be here, and then we'll talk about it. And
I figured it'd probably be 2 to 3 months.
Yeah,
So-
so, that being said, like, they're drawing down on Bento, right?
Yes, it's
So-
going down very slowly, but
Yeah, because if I remember right, it was like 130,000.
it was like 128, I think, last month, or 129, something like that.
So we're not.
No,
was a
it's
year.
not going down as fast as I thought it would, so I did talk to Julie about moving half of it out
Yeah,
based upon what their amounts are. I mean, obviously, I don't wanna overdraw it by any means, but we were just charged another $69 monthly fee because we're not using $20,000 a month. So, I mean, the sooner the better we can do that, but I would like to take money out of that and move it back to the fund that it belongs in, so we can earn some interest on that money, instead of it just sitting there.
any other thoughts on that?
Why isn't people using it?
That's a good question. We were gonna use it, right, for a lot of different things, and
I
that's
thought
what
we were gonna use it to pay like all the utility bills.
We're getting charged a $2.95 convenience fee to use it to pay utility bills. I think the intention was for Bob to use it, and that was never transitioned over, because I think it's just easier for him to use his actual Visa credit card. I do know that it is going to be written in our audit, because there are not a lot of controls over that $125,000. Anybody that has access to Bento can just go in and pull that money out. So I do know that it's gonna be a concern on the audit. And the only way I can see fixing that is to go back to the credit cards where there's more control over that, instead of just having $130,000 sitting out there free to anybody who feels like going in and moving it.
This is this procurement card that Joyce brought up, or that's we initiated back then that was gonna, okay, and it just, didn't we find out there was a lot of other costs or expenses or trip ropes that
So
weren't explained in the beginning?
all fees were waived for the first year, but if we don't use $20,000 worth, we get charged a $69 fee. We're not using $20,000 worth every month. Another concern I had is when you log into Bento, it will say, Bento has saved your business $130,000. Well, when you go in there to look, anytime a transaction is declined because either the card wasn't set up right, or there's a lot of manual maintenance to the card as well. You have to go in and extend the due date or the expiration date. You have to turn it on. After every month, it turns itself off. It's just a lot of maintenance to it. But every time a transaction is declined, they count that in our savings. That's not a true savings, but they're saying that they possibly caught fraud and so kept us from making an unauthorized transaction, but in reality, it's just we didn't have the card control set up correctly. I mean, Connie can attest to that.
Yes, so I'll use my phone bill, okay, so the phone bill that we just approved costs us about $200 a month. First time I went to use it with Bento Pay, they charge you a 3% of your balance as a convenience for using it. It's like, okay, that was unknown to me, so I worked very closely with Stephanie and we got that fixed. So now I can actually not use the P card, but use and make a payment through Bento Pay, and that fee's been waived and I don't have to do that anymore. But that's only $200 a month for me, so compared to other departments, I mean, Quincy's gonna have a lot more bills. But, and Joyce did tell us when we sat in this training, you have to make sure if you want to use Bento Pay, your vendors have to be willing to accept it and set it up. You can't just go in and just automatically do it. It doesn't work like that. So we had to work, Stephanie and I and Nikki, we had to work very closely with Call One to get that all set up.
In a way, it sounds like a cryptocurrency.
So, but like I said, mine works now just fine. But like I said, I don't have the kind of bills like maintenance and everybody else.
Well, even John, I mean, he uses his Visa for everything as well, and I don't know if there was, he never did have a P card, but again, I just think the actual credit card itself is more convenient, there's not as many card controls as far as going in and extending your expiration date and making sure it's turned on, and again, I think some of those controls are set for security purposes, but it's a lot of manual maintenance. And the balancing of it is a nightmare. Julie could attest to that.
Anything else under that? Okay, moving on to new items. So I guess the first thing is, let's just go to the UCCI. We got a due statement reminder, 2021. To be a member, I'll pass this around. It's $3,800. I think it's.
There's a refund back.
We get a refund back for it?
Yes, it's nearly the whole amount that is sent back, has been in the past.
Has anybody had the opportunity to use the UCCI resources?
To use it? Yeah. Actually, so.
Tom asked. I have. I've called there before and requested information on certain things.
Well, and they keep us up to date, they publish a list on legislation, you know, once a week practically when they're in session. And there's sessions that they set up and that we participate in. Due to COVID, we haven't been physically participating in anything yet. But we participate through the
They used to have a meeting at Stark Rock, right?
no,
That's
the Illinois Association of County Boardmen.
Gotcha.
Yeah, UCCI, I think the director came up once and talked to the committee and at our request, but, other than that, and that didn't, really.
Why? What other source of money do they have if they give us back $3,800?
Well, they're an insurance agency also. And they have they have downstate counties, and they have some in the northern section, and then they have schools and some cities and townships that they sell they have an insurance trust similar to what we have as a county. They bid once on one of our insurance policies, but their bid was not acceptable because it was not structured properly. But they're big. They're very big. They turn over they get turned over to the UCCI Association about $1 million from the insurance trust every year. So some of the profits off the trust go into this association to help maintain it. They have a staff and they have a director and so forth, but he's like everybody in Springfield or he's a lobbyist.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of money sloshing around. I'll bet it all doesn't go back. I mean, if we give them $3,800 and get $3,800 back and they're giving $1 million,
right,
that's just ripe for misuse. But I don't know what else you do.
well, they're audited. I think they have reports that come out every month. And, if you'd like a copy, I'm sure that, you could go into their site and get a copy. They distribute copies when there's meetings. And there's an outside auditing firm that runs the bookkeeping, you might say, on the entire operation. That's fine.
Yeah, how many, how often do you pull reports from them?
Well,
here for anything special?
a minimum of once a month. I pull a report for the Legislative and Rules Committee once a month. And many times I have to, if they don't have one ready and haven't emailed it out, then I call them and they generate one for us. So it's a good feature. Like everything else, it's us being connected, and that's what it's all about. Getting information.
Can I have a motion to pay the bill? By Gary, seconded by Tom?
Aye.
All right, oh, Craig, I go with Craig.
Craig,
Yep. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Pay that. I'm gonna jump around if the committee's okay with this. I forgot, Brian's here on behalf of proposed zoning fee changes, that way he can bounce out. So, you wanna come up?
Morning. I do have some handouts, we sent them out via email, but those out.
At 1 minute.
And how many do I need here? Okay. One back for myself here. I just have one more for myself. So the reason I'm here today is we're working on several text amendments for the zoning ordinance. And part of the zoning ordinance, it actually lists the fees. So we're kind of getting in preparation to get everything in order for the public hearing that's required before the ZBA in order to make any changes to the zoning ordinance. So anytime you do a fee change in the zoning ordinance, then there'll be a text amendment and have a hearing on it. So I want to get everything in order. After our last land use meeting, there were a few changes that came up. So we wanted to go ahead and revise those because we only want to publish because it costs to publish for a hearing, and you don't want to figure out that you missed something and then come back, a few months later for a change. So, so I'm trying to go in order. I would have rather gone to land use first before finance, but that's just not the way things worked out. So if you're okay with everything today, if you could just make it contingent on the land use committee approval, that'll go to tomorrow. It'll be on the agenda.
And Alan's aware you're here and all that.
Yep, I did talk to Alan about this.
You mind if I say something?
Sure.
So our job really at finance here is not really dictating the exact text language here as much, because that's really another committee's jurisdiction. I mean, we could, but really we're just concerned about the fee changes and the amount. So, okay, thanks.
Thank you. And one of the other things, we discussed previously about is the possibility of just referencing a fee schedule so that you wouldn't have to go to hearing anytime you did any changes to the fees. But then again, that our department oversees the subdivision ordinance, the zoning ordinance, the floodplain ordinance, all those have fees. So if we're to adopt a common fee schedule, we have to pass an ordinance to change all those ordinances to reflect the fee schedule. So, not quite sure what to do there. I suppose we could change it in the text of the zoning ordinance to reflect a fee schedule, and then pass a land use department fee schedule, and then as we change the other ordinances, we can just change the language to reflect the new fee schedule. So that might be a possibility, so we only have to do it, as we're making changes to those ordinances. But just go ahead and pass a fee schedule that reflects all the ordinances and the current fees. So, does that make sense? So I guess the major changes in the zoning ordinance right now would probably be the changes to require a $300 fee for a special use regardless of proposed special use lot size. Previously, some of those special uses for like a lot less than 35 acres in the A1 district were a $100 fee regardless of lot size. I propose that to be the same fee as a regular special use, but still allow it to be regardless of the lot size. Because we do have some proposed changes that would allow somebody to apply for a special use for less than 35 acres. If it is like a commercial ag-related business, because some of those ag-related businesses, so say like a chemical feed or a farm chemical storage facility, they might not need 35 acres. So why have 35 acres of farmland that they're taking up? But should they get the $100 fee? Shouldn't they get a regular special use fee cost for that? So that's one of the changes. The next one is a split compliance review letter. We did add a fee for that. That was basically for a farmstead split or a split compliance letter. There'd be a $75 fee. That was discussed. And you know what? I thought that was. I may have missed that. Sorry. Oh, and the first part is also the variances going from $100 to $200. And I did list some variance fee work research in here.
I saw that.
That shows kind of a wide range of variance fees, but we have had a couple of hearings where, it's maybe just one variance application comes through, so maybe considering just to bring that fee up a little bit.
So, if I may, just so I understand this, so Grundy County's variance fee is $700. Our fee, from what it looks like, is variances is $200.
Our original fee is $100, so we propose it to go up to $200.
So,
as you can see, there's kind of a wide range there.
We in past years have done fee studies for various offices with an outside, under an outside contract. And that included I think included the recorder, the clerk, and the sheriff. I'm not sure how many other departments were included. And therefore, the rates were raised on an actual cost basis in relationship to what the county was going through as far as expenses were concerned in relationship to each one of these transactions. So, you know, when I consider that in the future when that contract comes up again, or when it's ready to go.
It's probably something for us to consider on all the offices. And when we did that, didn't we also ask for those elected officials to help participate in and help pay for that?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, right.
So,
But it, you know, to me, it removes a lot of burden and a lot of, well, not guesswork, because I know that there's a lot of time that you're putting into it as far as that's concerned, but it just removes it from, I don't know how satisfied you folks, I don't know whether it goes into the circuit clerk's office or not, the fee studies.
It has, yeah, I've seen the reports. I haven't done one myself since I've been in office, but we probably are looking at doing one in a couple of years. When we had our predictable fees change, we did an analysis ourselves, and then it said in 3 years we could do a report in outside and see if we're in line with our fees and our operations of our office and such.
Kurt?
I don't have a problem with fees when something is being developed or set up for development, but I do have a problem with that $100 to $200 variance for someone that wants to add a extension on their garage, and because we impose zoning, they have to now come in and give us $100. I would think as a service, and since we required it, the $100 is kind of let us know so we can keep our plats correct, but I don't think we want it to be perceived as a penalty for someone working on their own property. Okay, like I said, I don't mind the ones where they're splitting or creating subdivisions or things like that, but I do oppose people coming in here because we impose the zoning on them. And making, I don't know if $200 is usury, but I think $100 is just an appropriate notice thing.
Okay. Gary?
Not all of this was zoning. There was setbacks on roads before zoning even went in, on county roads and township roads. And most of the variances are because they want to move closer to the road than what the setback is.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you can't blame that on zoning.
So,
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
Did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to, you know, concur with what Gary was saying. I mean, it's been there and you know, and these types of things, I mean, and then, you know, we're always being criticized because taxes go up and taxes, well, we can't give out free services and then not raise taxes. If we're gonna do it free, then every taxpayer in the county is going to be contributing to the expense that's incurred in the process. I mean, it's just like a marriage license. At one time, they were up to $75 or $80. Then they reduced them because they required less to be done as far as the county was concerned. Plus the fact that, I don't want to go into the long story of it, but it was just the fact they were trying to plan ahead as far as legal and anticipated challenges were concerned. And that was struck down by the Supreme Court. But it just, you know, most of these, and that's why these companies, you might say, came on the scene. So it removes the fact of the county actually doing it as like our employees doing it or our office holders doing it, and then bringing the fee schedule to us. And then we in turn vote on it, where if you have a third party that's involved in it, they give the whole thing a fresher perspective. It's the way I look at it.
Okay,
Right.
so,
oh, sorry, Chairman?
I have to ask for curiosity, what's the premise for increasing these fees?
the premise, Well, I guess we just kind of looked at the fees from other counties, started looking at the actual cost of the hearings. You know, we've had a couple of hearings, or actually just our last hearing, we had one petitioner at it. So you look at the cost of having all the zoning board members, and we've actually had almost all of them show up now, so that's a $60 per meeting, plus mileage, plus court security, you know, that we're paying to have that meeting for one petitioner. So you just look at the cost to hold the hearing. Just recently, we decided with WebEx as well as, you know, we do a recording, we do WebEx, we do YouTube, that it's not required by statute to have a court reporter there. So we no longer have a court reporter. So that saves us a minimum of $200 a meeting. Some of those long meetings can be $800, $900. And then if somebody wants a transcript, it's even extra. So, so we're gonna save cost that way. But that's in here. If the petitioner wants a court reporter, they can request a court reporter, but be charged back or be invoiced for that service. So basically, just looking at you know, the cost of holding hearings and trying to put some of that cost back on the petitioners. If you look at, you know, the comparable counties, you look at probably that Grundy County that with the $700, that's probably the actual cost of, you know, they've probably done a study and found that, you know, some of these higher fee costs are what the actual petitioner cost is. But, you know, we're just trying to up it a little bit to help offset the costs of the hearing.
Okay, well, I'm not really that interested in what other counties are doing, because I think in this situation here, if you're looking to increase fees, then it you should be able to substantiate it by what we pay for these meetings and the other costs associated with that, to get a proper idea of what that fee should be. My question in this whole situation is, if you take these fees and you take them and put them in the scenarios of, say, 2020 or 2019, how much does that increase the revenue, so to speak, for the zoning situation? And how will that affect each of those petitioners as far as overall outlay of monies that they have to pay for those variances or special uses? See, my thoughts on those, when I'm taking a look at here and say, okay, if we ran different scenarios, how much could a person actually have to spend before they even break ground on their own property to build what they want to build, or whatever the case may be? In regard to the one meeting you had, that was, if I'm not mistaken, in regard to the meteorological tower. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we did it that way based upon our conversation, so that they could start sooner than later. Mm-hmm. But normally you would have a situation where there will be multiple petitioners coming before the Zoning Board of Appeals to, I'm assuming, spread the cost out over a number of individuals that are coming before them.
Generally, we would try to hold back and push back a hearing to have multiple individuals there.
Can you take a look and at this type of situation, like I just mentioned, and substantiate that fee increase, those fee increases in regards to the cost of the Zoning Board of Appeals and the work in your office?
I would say just the administrative cost of preparing a variance is probably at least $100 worth of staff time. And then if not, more than that. And then also, you have the cost of the hearing. So you look at the $100 fee, that's been the same fee since 2006. So, and that fee has not been raised since zoning was approved, was passed in 2006.
I have a few questions. Do you have to publish this?
Publish
For
what?
variances or anything like that?
Yeah, they do have to be published, so that is the additional cost to the petitioner that we pay up front and initiate that, and then we invoice them after for the publication and mailing costs.
How many variances are done a year? Do you have, I know it's been down a little bit probably.
Yeah, it's been down a bit, so I mean, it's not significant amount. I'd say I'd say we have, I don't know, maybe 5 to 8 variances. Mostly we have special uses, not variances. So
Because I've seen most of the variances are road setbacks.
generally a setback.
Somebody wants to build a garage that may infringe on the townships or the county's ability one day to expand the road, and they have to give permission for that.
Correct. Or, it might be a variance in building a larger structure than is allowed in the district. We have a couple of districts, like the R2 district, that has a maximum square footage that you can build for an accessory structure, that they make it a variance for that.
You're talking about the administrative costs of the hearing, so you have the sheriff's court security officer here, right?
Yes, we have the security for the length of the meeting.
So we would just say that's probably 50 times $50 an hour,
Yeah,
times at a minimum 2 hours, so 100. And then there's seven members.
7 members times 60.
It's 420, so it's 520 just to host the meeting. Not counting administrative costs you put into it, you said it was 100, so now we're at 620. So when you said Grundy's like 700, they actually probably did a study and it showed this is probably what it actually costs.
Probably for the cost of the whole meeting, yes. If that was a lone petitioner at the meeting, that'd probably be the cost. And it would be a lot more if we had the court reporter to pay for, but we actually reduced that cost now. So.
Yeah, Tina?
And you said now that the petitioner pays half of the publication fee too?
Pays the whole publication.
Oh, whole public, so we don't get charged for putting it in the paper?
Well, we have we set it up, so it's,
Right.
we make sure.
But they pay for it.
The statute, the 15-day notice requirements, we set that up and then they.
So they pay the fee here, they pay for the publication, do they pay for anything else?
So they pay the fee, they pay for the publication and mailing expenses.
And mailing?
For certified mail to adjoining property owners. So,
Oh, so
I
that
mean, a
could,
variance could run, our average public notice is probably $300 average, I would say.
so it's costing the person asking for the variance a nice little chunk of money then?
Yeah, for the most, but I mean, it's.
If it's
pretty
300 for
expensive, like the
mailing,
public notice.
200 for that, that's 500, and what would you think publication costs you?
Well, that's what I said, the average is generally around $300 for.
Oh, for publication, I thought you were saying mailing, so about your mailing, how
The
much?
mailings are like $4 a piece for a certified mail, so it's like
Depending on how many neighbors they have, okay.
35, $40.
In response to Chairman Jensen's request, page 24, the contract general permit fees that we budgeted for last year was $60,000. Actual expenses for our zoning and planning development on page 39 comes up to $35,690. So the amount of revenue created just by the current fee schedule that we're using is again $60,000. The total expenses budgeted for an expense line item for the department is at approximately $40,000. So somewhere in there in my small math mind, seems as if our fee schedule is generating us an income of $40,000. No, I'm sorry, $20,000 now. So we got some leftover cash in there. And I do have to understand the fact is that we cannot be competitive with other counties. And the fact is that they have different dynamics when it comes to their economic development and their zoning requirements as we have here in LaSalle County. Since I've been on the Land Services Committee, I've always felt that they were very fair with land usage and the fair charges that we felt was respectful to the people that owned the property, so that they would be governed and we would be able to have a, what would I call, an infant in the way of our zoning book, the zoning that we've only had since what, 2016?
2006.
6? So it's fairly a new document. We never had zoning before. So there's a lot of what we would call interpretation as to what I should be able to do with my own property, what I own, as opposed to government telling me that I can do what I'm going to tell you to do with your property, and then have to tell you that we're going to charge you as government as to tell you what to do with the property. So that becomes a bone of contention in a lot of instances. I would rather walk the line of giving the onus to the property owner and being respectful of them and their property rights. If we were losing money, I could see that we would have to increase fees. Don't want to lose money, I mean, that's just common good business sense.
One more note, and I missed it in here, I'm sorry. I'd like to add one thing that was in the original one that went to land use, and for some reason it didn't come in here, but if you could make just an addition note on that.
Okay.
There was an additional reuse or special use extension fee of $300, and that was in there. We've been getting a lot of these extension for solar farms coming through, and there was some concerns, whether we're charging for that renewal. And so I would like to add that in here, and I apologize that it missed this version that I handed out to you guys today. So like to add that in here for consideration today.
Brian?
Yes.
Brian, for the variance fee there from 100 to 200, are the majority of them just like taxpayers who are coming in to want to do an addition on a house or a garage?
I'd say that the variances are generally, homeowners coming in.
Where the other fees could be businesses and other things.
Generally, the special uses are the larger projects.
Yeah.
Or special uses.
Well, I would rather see the variance stay down then and the other ones go ahead and be raised. I mean, we've already collected taxes from them too, so. And if they're paying the $100 plus the $300 plus the $40, that's just me though.
You want to make that a motion, Tina?
I mean, we could try. I'd like to keep that one the same, and the other ones, I don't mind the increases on them.
Okay. That seems like the general consensus from what I understand here. So if Tina would be so kind to make that motion.
Sure.
Have a second? Second.
We're just dealing with
Kurt?
this one line item.
Well, we're approving all of them but the variance. We're leaving the variance the
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So
Yeah, we'll clarify that in a second. Craig seconded it. Additional discussion. So Kurt's point is we are going to accept the fee schedule as presented with the special use extension too.
Okay, for $300.
For $300, the exception is the variances we do not want to be changed. We'd like that to remain at $100. And this motion would be then to accept these as presented and for them to or pending, I guess it would be forwarded, right? Pending approval of the land use commission, development land use. So we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion on the matter? Chairman?
On the special use down there, Brian, so it's $300 for the first 2 acres and then $100 an acre for each subsequent on the special use, but then down, is that aside from accessory housing, which then would be $300 regardless of the size?
So, the special use, yeah, accessory housing would stay the same, but that would be $100 fee regardless of size. So that's the one where we allow like somebody over 55 or a family member, they would pay for somebody that's disabled, that would stay at the $100 fee regardless of lot size. But the thought was to possibly up the fee to the regular $300 special use fee for those other lots that are under 35 acres in the A1 districts, for either a single family home or for, when we make the changes to possibly allow the, like a commercial type business to be on a lot less than 35 acres, then kind of feel that they should pay the full $300 special use fee instead of the discounted.
300 plus?
What's that?
I'm sorry, 300 plus the $100 per acre for the
Well,
commercial
it actually, we're keeping it at 300, but regardless of lot size. So if you have like a homeowner that, wants to split off some land less than 35 acres for, relative or something like that, they'll pay the $300 fee, but if they want to split like 5 acres off, they won't have to pay the additional acreage fee.
So it's just the one flat fee.
Just a flat $300 fee for that.
Tom?
Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment, propose an amendment that the next time there's a fee study done, that this department be included in that. I think we need to have some outside eyes looking at the situation and, bringing this up, and then also kind of take the situation from another perspective of how we're doing it in other areas of the county, such as the different offices that we talked about earlier.
Okay, so that's your motion?
Right, to amend it to be included in the next fee study that's.
The motion that these fees be included in the next fee study that the county puts on?
Correct.
Okay, for the various departments.
Right.
Is there a second?
Who's gonna go back in the minutes and check?
Yeah, I remember.
Who's gonna go back in the minutes in 3 years and check and see which departments we said should be in?
Well, hopefully there'll be some people here that, will be knowledgeable of that, from the standpoint of how it's done. But, I've seen it happen over the years, and I think we've included more offices in it as time has gone on. I don't know how you people felt about it
Is
as
that
office
what
holders.
you do when a fee study is done? You have several departments going in. I know when ours was done last time, I think the assessors was in there.
Yeah, okay, there's another.
My fees are all set by the state.
Yeah, well, that relieves us of the burden, and we don't have to worry about it. But, when it's dropped on the county, I think we need to protect, not only the citizens from the standpoint of them not being overcharged, but also from the county to make sure that that we don't have a situation come up where we're not charging enough, and then therefore, throwing the departments into a tailspin as far as trying to cover their budget. I'm not saying we gotta make it dollar for dollar, or dime for dime, or penny for penny, I'm just saying that these companies are out there, they do it professionally, and they've done it in the past, and it seems to be working.
Is there a second? Alright. Tom, your motion dies for lack of a second. We'll proceed with the original motion. Is there any further discussion on the original motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright, are there any opposed? If there are no opposed, the motion carries. Thanks, Brian.
I did just have one other question.
Sure.
About that discussion about the fee schedule instead. Is that something that you guys would like to see too? Or if the land use committee agrees on that, is that presented in the fee schedule form, and instead of so basically the text would reference a land use fee schedule instead of outlining the fees in the zoning ordinance. If that's something that I can work with Mark on and have that proposed and talk about it at the land use committee, would that be something you guys would be open to allowing, or should we keep it in the ordinance and have the hearings anytime there's a fee?
Hearings?
Well, if it's just a schedule, that can be raised any time without a public hearing. If you leave it to the ordinance, at least it's gonna be at a public hearing, so everybody knows it's not a finance committee, just the increase in fees. I think it should stay in the text.
I think we're covering ourselves better that way.
As far as zoning goes, okay. That sounds good. So that'll be probably easier anyway. So to do that, so sounded like we'd probably have to do a lot of changes to implement the fee schedule separately. So, all right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a good day.
Okay, getting back to regular order, farm lease bid, I believe they're opening that up soon. And then we're gonna have a meeting prior to the next full board meeting, when we officially approve it. So I think we're gonna have like is it a 12:30 start? So, and also on there is going to be something else. What was that? Oh, mileage and per diems. So.
I think they open it Friday, isn't it?
Yeah, at 1 o'clock.
The Seco maintenance agreement. I don't have anything in front of me for that. What?
That was brought up at property the other day.
Okay.
Greg and Bob have reached an agreement with Seco. What was it, 2016, 17? 18. At the end of the budget year, Bob had extra money in his budget. I think it was $20,000.
21.
Well, it's 21, okay. That we gave a block of money to Seco in return for getting cheaper rates on maintenance of the Seco products we have in town. That money has been used, most of it.
2,000 left.
So Bob, Greg would like to put some more money in there with the same agreement as you had previously, correct?
Yes.
On rates?
Basically, what was negotiated those years ago was Seco would charge us for travel one way instead of two ways, and they gave us a discounted hourly rate. Back a month or so ago, chairman called a meeting with all the people involved with security, meaning the EMA building, the downtown courthouse, this courthouse, and the owner from Seco and the salesman was present, and they said they would honor that hourly rate even though their prices went up, and still would charge us for one-way travel time, not both ways. So that's kind of the discussion, Chairman, unless you have something else. When I first was brought in, elected into the office, we were spending a lot of money. We were calling Seco out for maintenance, sometimes 2-3 times a week at $1,000 a pop for them to come out sometimes and fix something that took 10 minutes and sometimes took 2 hours. Since then, maintenance Bob has gotten together with getting his staff trained to repair a lot of the functions of the doors and minor stuff on the cameras, along with IT Kevin, who's very good with cameras, has also stepped up. Seco has furnished us additional extra parts that we keep on hand. So we've decreased the amount of money being spent or the time we needed Seco here. But for instance, they were out here Monday or Friday, working on the door over here again. There's times that we do need them. So I think what came out of that meeting, if I'm right, is that Bob was recommending that we buy another block of maintenance time in the amount of $20,000 because it will save us a lot of money for service. In that service, and there is no contract, this is a handshake. It would include the EMA building, who's been spending a fortune getting their stuff done because they weren't part of the group that Bob did downtown and here. Now we would include them in that to save them some additional monies also. Sorry, Tina, you have a question?
No, go ahead, I thought you were done.
I have negotiated other contracts similar. We buy a block of time with Connecting Point. I think IT does the same thing with a few of their vendors because it saves us time and money. Instead of paying $200 an hour, we're paying $150 and we're paying less travel time. That makes a huge difference. When John would have to call somebody out, he's not gonna panic because he's gonna have this huge bill coming and we need their help. I know Frontier was a huge factor with us. So that's kind of the same situation we're in. We're looking to have your advice and your input to go ahead and continue with saving money by prepaying for a block of time.
Is the sheriff involved in this? Because I know at one point he was looking at doing different doors, so.
He's in charge of this.
Oh, so he is part of it too,
Yeah.
okay, so he does know and he does realize, because.
This pretty much goes under safety and the responsibility of the safety and security of these buildings is the sheriff's department.
I thought he was looking at different locks and different things at one point in time, but
This-
it would still fall with this company then?
Yes.
Okay.
And let me go 2 routes with that. First off, this is maintenance. Okay, we can use it for equipment. The owner of Seco said we can use it for equipment, and we have when we put those additional cameras in downtown. But I know downtown probation detention is looking at adding some doors. They are getting quotes. Once they get quotes, they'll meet with the sheriff because he's the person in charge of security. The reason why I keep getting involved, everything downtown is on my system. My server, my staff maintains the key fobs, the software, Lenny does the maintenance, along with the help of John and Kevin. It's on my system. I paid for the digital camera system out of my specialty funds, $60,000. I added an additional piece of equipment because we added additional cameras. I paid for that out of my specialty funds. So my office is vested in this, but the bottom line is the person in charge of this is safety and security. I'm just kind of throwing into the mix because I have to be.
The only problem is nothing was budgeted. It takes care of several departments. So that's why it came back to finance, to see if finance would pay it.
That's what my next question is gonna be, who's given the 20,000 when it includes so many different departments?
Well, that's the problem. I mean, Bob has a maintenance repair building line item. But it's more than just, he's not gonna have enough money in there, I'm afraid.
Tom, yes?
So really, they
Yeah,
don't spend the money.
You know, I think we're discussing security here. I think we should be in executive session. You know, even though it's not specific, it's specific enough to be a security item, and it's been mentioned in the debate that we're talking about security. And anytime the sheriff is in here discussing any kind of security, it's always under executive session. So.
I stepped out, so portion I heard, I didn't think it fell quite under revealing security procedures or specific protocol, but I am monitoring that. I guess my question is, we have to have a contract in front of us, and I don't see a contract. So I'm not really comfortable with just voting on something without a contract in front of us as a committee to tie us in on anything. Do you have something?
I'm not sure as to what took place in 2018. I know I have a sheet that was signed by Jerry Hicks in that regard to that service agreement. I can get it, we can take a look at it. In regard to Tom's question, this basically is just to replenish a maintenance agreement that is down to roughly $2,000 and is to basically continue that same agreement as far as cost-wise for the maintenance of the doors and different security items involved with, that Seco's involved with.
Kurt?
I don't think it's, what we're discussing is the source of the funds to put in a account, but it's not, there's not gonna be a contract. So I would think if we could find the one or two sources of where we suggest that money come from and then give it back to those committees to finalize.
Shouldn't we have something though that says it's gonna be used for maintenance and equipment, or at least something?
If I may, I got brought in on a meeting on this in which we had $25,000 on it and was spent for cameras downtown. And now we're down to 2,000. Well, the reason why we're down that is because that money was spent, and I still don't remember, quite understand how that money was spent. So
now we might need to go into executive session.
So if I may, that money had sat there for years.
Yes, it did.
Without being spent. So all of a sudden now, I feel like we're being asked to put $20,000 into something with no contract, where it may be spent this week, it may be spent in 2 weeks or a month or 5 years from now. So I would be more inclined to take a more conservative approach and want to look at the contract.
Well,
and then maybe, do we need 20,000? Because that seems like we're just gonna buy more cameras for downtown, which I didn't understand, I still don't understand how that went down without going to executive session. Tina?
well, I know that when we had
Careful.
the bad thing happen, we wanted to use some of that money for equipment, and we were told that it was only for maintenance, not equipment at that time. So I don't know if, I think IT might have been able to use a portion of it, but it was not very much of it. Because that's why I was surprised when you said equipment. Because they told us last time it was not equipment, it was just.
I don't want to
come
get
up
into
here.
a big discussion, but I can tell you, we bought a block of time for service maintenance, and it was not a contract, it was a block of time we purchased like we do for other vendors. That amount was $21,000. We used it every year, and it dwindled down to about $12,000. At that point, and we have the paperwork on that, or chairman does. At that point, there was an issue that came up, and we were asked if we could use that monies besides just for service and maintenance for equipment. That's when we contacted the vendor, and we got the okay to use it for equipment, because we were told to spend it down, and that's what was brought to several, the sheriff's department, whatever, and that's where it was. That's kind of the scenario, but we were spending amounts for service every single year. It wasn't just sitting there. what I would like to know, and I don't have an answer for this, is what have we spent the past 2 years in just maintenance with this company on when we did call them out? And what is an average service call? I mean, those are numbers that we have invoices on.
All right, if I may.
Yes.
When we discussed this at the meeting, thought we were going to have, was it public safety, kind of take the lead on SECO? Was that kind of the discussion point on that?
I think so, and that, I think there was, a question was posed to me, and that's when I basically tried to get all the department heads, those that are associated with that topic and SECO in the same room together and have a conversation as where we were going to go to from there, from where we were at that time or are now.
All right.
Basically, are we in executive session or no?
No.
Okay.
We can be, would you like to? You think we should now?
I mean, this is service only on this thing.
It's a service contract. We're not discussing.
Basically, we were getting low in that maintenance amount that was left. And so we need to figure out where we were going.
You could decide not to put additional money into this, and we will pay the full hourly rate and pay for travel both ways. That's an option that we can definitely go with.
My question is your departments, when you do your budget, plan for your maintenance. So why,
It wasn't budgeted this last year.
they didn't put any, maintenance didn't put anything in for,
There's some maintenance, but it wasn't set up to buy a block of time.
no, I get that. But why, what I'm getting at is, why is it here with us? Why isn't this coming out of, a portion of it coming out of sheriff, a portion of it coming out of maintenance, a portion of it coming out of Greg's? Whoever else uses it.
Well, I mean, we can do that.
Yeah.
You know, they've got
I
maintenance in theirs, they got maintenance in theirs, they got maintenance in theirs, and then put that in that way.
Yeah, basically I don't know how it was done before, but from here moving forward, what I'd rather see is that if Greg or the sheriff or whoever has that work done, basically that goes on to their department for whatever they have budgeted for that situation.
I don't know, yeah.
And I'm not sure of the history. We could probably find the history on it to see what's been, like what Greg had mentioned from the past years as far as maintenance, to get some ideas to how to budget it in the future for these particular items. And then that way that cost can come out of those particular budgets.
Kurt has something. Kurt?
But that's back to my plan, but I just looked at this procurement card. Why don't we take 20 out of procurement and ship it over to them? We'll kill two birds with one time.
Yep.
But I mean, it's not, I think the part of where the individual fees comes out of each individual department, that's all fine. But I think all we're worried about today is finding the bulk source of the 20,000 to go.
Yeah, but if we aren't careful and we don't put it in writing or say it, finance is gonna be stuck with it.
Well, every department is a general fund anyway, so, but it's not the individual payments that are being credited back, it's the 20 up front, and then it's actually a credit to their budget, because each time they do something, the 20 comes down and it's a non-event, but it's the original funding, but I think it should come from each of the departments unless we do something like the procurement card and take it out of a block that's already out there. So, but we're spending a lot of time on something that's not really gonna be finance related at the end.
Greg, you had something?
Again, pardon me, but I only have 2 doors fobbed in my office downtown, and I have 4 cameras, which I purchased along with the entire system. All the doors downtown and all the cameras downtown are part of security through the sheriff or safety committee. That's not my responsibility. It's on my system. I've spent over $70,000 or $80,000 of my specialty monies to build a system that didn't cost the county out of their money. For me to be responsible for 35 doors and 20 cameras down there, that's not my department.
Excuse me, Greg, that's not what I'm saying.
No.
You know,
Okay.
If it's maintenance, then basically it's going to get accounted for in that manner.
Yeah, we need to know when they get called in, what they're working on, and then that way it can be.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
If it's your equipment that's being maintained, then that's on your time, but it's not to reassign this maintenance situation. It's just to take it to the proper department for that particular, and my guess is, this is 2018, it may be $5,000 a year. I'm not sure, aside from that situation that you were just talking about, those other cameras, it may be only $5,000 a year that we're looking at in all concerned departments. The thought was on the 20, it was, the 20 is not a hard figure. What we know is there's between $2,000 and $3,000 left. And I know what Greg had mentioned earlier, there was 21,000 put in. So my thoughts, if we get somewhere between 15 and 20 in, that'll probably last us another 3 years.
It's just how Stephanie's gonna be able to account for this and get it to the right department and we get the right ones.
So, Gary, you had something?
Because you have judiciary, the judges downtown.
Yeah.
Then you got the jail, you got the sheriff's department, that's two separate entities there,
Yes.
the jail and the sheriff's department. And you got all these doors over here, which is,
Maintenance then.
the treasurer has locks on his doors down there and cameras in his office,
They're different.
which you gotta decide whether it's gonna be paid out of it's all paid out of the general fund mainly anyway. So you gotta put it in Bob's budget every year. Or how are you gonna split it out for judiciary?
Where'd the first 20,000 come from?
Out of Bob's.
Out
There was
of
money left in his budget at the end of the year,
So then maybe.
so he decided to buy that block of time and save some money.
How about this? Is there a way for us to get a contract with everything that you said, circuit clerk in there? And then we do have another meeting before the full board meeting. The next couple of days, can you get a contract from that company stating what those rates actually are? So we're kind of protected, locked in. And then would the committee be okay with the way you started with 5 and maybe 5,000 and seeing where we would be?
Again, with our conversation with the owner, that was 3 years ago that we bought that block of time and the prices have gone up every year. If we buy $5,000, and I'm just talking off the top of my head, it lasts 1 year. At the end of that year, you're gonna pay a lot more money for the hourly rate and possibly travel time 2 ways. If one thing I've learned in the past 4 years is that companies change, they have new owners, they get sold out, and the prices will go up. And this isn't just me talking, this was from our meeting the other day, this is an opportunity to buy a block of time at a very reasonable rate that could possibly get us through 3 or 4 years. Whatever you decide, if it's $5,000 or no additional money, you just have to understand, 4 years ago, Bob was bleeding invoices out because everybody was calling to get a door fixed. Every time they came out, it was a minimum $1,000. Sandy and Chairman Hicks called us out on that, and that's when we went to Plan B. Along with maintenance, help and training and spare parts, we've cut that down.
But if we have a contract that says the rates are locked in for this much, we can dictate how much we put in it.
We can do that.
I don't know if we need to get locked in with a set amount for 3 years. If we have a 3-year contract and we can just add to it and monitor it, because the worst case scenario is we don't use it and they just made money off of us because they're investing our money, so.
No, it's not money that they keep. It's, basically it's our account. They are not keeping any of it, you know, if they're investing 20,000.
Oh, they're sitting on our money, but we're actually giving them a check, right?
Yes.
Yes, they're sitting on our money. I mean, it may take us 4 years to use it up. They may let us go 4 years if we haven't used it all up, but they're still sitting on our money, yes.
There's no limit on time on when we have to use that.
I have full faith and confidence that you'll be able to get us a good contract, that
It'll
we'll
be-
have something like that.
We'll get something in writing. I don't know if you could actually call it a contract. It'll be an agreement. We'll work on it.
Can we add that to the, we may have to move this up more.
Greg, is this the
Might not be
same
12 or
order
8.
line as this sheet?
I think so. I don't know what you're looking for.
Michael?
I was fortunate enough to be on county property at the time. And at that time, voices in the room have explained that there was interpretations as to maintenance contracts and the huge expense or felt huge expense providing for outside contractors to come in and to repair the security system, the door locks, etc., because we lack the expertise with our maintenance department or anyone else to do the actual physical work. Now, with that said, in the meantime, we established this maintenance contract. And the company Seco was very open-minded to create what we considered a fair labor contract to provide for the technician to come up and do the work. There was back and forth as to what they would pay, what the cost would be, the actual service hours that they would charge us, and then also the 24/7 responsibilities for that contractor to provide the service as needed. At the same time, after that was all set out, and voices in the room have explained that there was an opportunity for us to have this extended contract over a period of years. Same time now, if I remember right, there was a gentleman that had worked for Frontier. That gentleman was hired by our IT department for the fact is that he was fortunate enough to have some of the expertise to be able to repair some of the items that are included that we used to hire Seco for. He was a technician, is now working down in the IT department,
We're talking about
that can
personnel.
go out and do some of the work.
Talking about personnel, so.
I'm sorry?
Talking about personnel, so.
Well, I'm just, however, I understand it's personnel. I mean, those are people that we have hired in the county to do the work. So I don't see if there's a conflict. The guy is able to do the work that we don't have with other personnel, right? Is there a problem with, I'm not calling the guy out, we're very fortunate to have the
I don't
individual.
think that was the purpose of us hiring him.
That was one of the reasons.
I don't know. So
That was
anyway,
one of the reasons, because we didn't have people and we felt that we could save the cost of hiring Seco, because their costs were higher than if we had a permanent employee to do the work. Just as if we have a permanent employee to do the maintenance work, it's the same thing.
I don't know if that was any official discussion on any of
Oh,
that.
well, then my mind I should probably have carried a recording device with me. I'm sorry for bringing something up I maybe shouldn't have. But that was the reason that that person was hired downstairs.
I don't think that was it. So. Okay, so getting back, so you think, before what's our meeting, Monday? Probably at noon now? Probably at noon. Circuit clerk, do you think we can, do something like that?
Bob's been communicating with them and he will work on that.
Get something in writing instead of us just having nothing.
Be a similar letter to this, spelling out the rates.
Okay, anything would be good. All right.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yes.
I'm confused, what's not spelled out here?
Well, this is,
20,000.
this is not,
This is
what-
an old,
this is an old one. We don't have a new one.
Yeah, but the rates are.
He's honoring the rates that for 2018 till now.
But that doesn't
Oh,
say that here.
No, that's the old one, we'll get a new letter.
Yeah, when we had a meeting with him, he says he would honor it, so yes, we'll get it right. Okay.
but when you get some reference to the block of funds we need to put up?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not in this one.
Yeah, $200.
No, the
No,
20,000 is not referenced here.
Well, $200.
$200 is $108 an hour.
Yeah.
So you just want this letter updated, right, current?
Yeah, I think we should have a contract with a vendor,
Yeah.
that's all. And I think everything is on the up and up, now we're having a public discussion about it, thanks for bringing it up. So.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on, unless somebody else does anything else about that. U of I extension.
You need to stay. Another issue coming up.
Oh, yeah, hey, let's do that next. Air quality bid, what is that?
Yeah, what is this?
Good. Because I know nothing about it. What is this?
Nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
We were supposed to apply, I think we did, Stephanie, didn't you? For that second batch of CARES money.
We did apply for 750,000 additional money. The state, it has been completely put on hold because they have extended the deadline to apply for the CARES money to January 31st, 2022. Entities were not able to get all the documentation needed in time, so they've extended that to 2022. So any additional funding is probably not going to be released until at least 2022.
Did we, technically, did we budget that money in?
No, that would,
No. So
No.
there's no loss to our budget that we got it or didn't get it.
No, that, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, that was done contingent, I'm assuming contingent on that 750,000. And we went out to look for a bid on the bipolar ionization for the air system. That being said, we found a problem with one of the bids that I think Kurt was taking a look into to see if he could find the information, just exactly what's what, but nevertheless, it wasn't included in the budget other than the contingency.
Understand.
So the discussion the other day was on where we were gonna get approximately $100,000 because the 750 is on hold.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where that is.
Okay.
Because it started out, that money was gonna become available like the 1st of March, and you had like 90 days to spend it. That's why the property committee went ahead and but there's several on the property committee that think we should go ahead and do it. And it's gonna be brought up, I'm sure, at the full, if this is presented at the full board, they're gonna be very outspoken that it should be done.
With what money?
Okay, let me ask a couple of questions then. Is it budgeted?
It is not budgeted whatsoever,
Okay.
and it was planned on using that second CARES money to pay for it. It was budgeted in there. The bids are supposedly good for 6 months. And the way things look out in Washington, they're gonna be handing money out right and left, so we might as well wait and.
So just be patient, wait a little bit, see how things
Give it a
transpire.
month or so and see what happens.
Yeah. That seems
I
like.
think also,
I'm sorry, is it?
Go ahead, Doug.
The other argument there is absolutely right, I was at that meeting, and one of the members was very, very vocal, and I agree with him. This is the safety of employees. And his thought was, we need to do this now. If we get the grant money within 3 or 4 months, fine. But we're talking about the safety of employees, and we should do it now. And that was his thought process.
What do we do?
And I agree with that. We have extra money in 128 that we could use. Plus you go around and ask the departments. Kurt had a breakdown of every department, how much it was gonna cost. You go around and ask them to chip in. But that was his thought process.
Okay, Chairman?
Yeah.
Oh,
I got something to say. If we're gonna start doing this, or we're looking to do this, we got 6 months to figure out what you're gonna do with the money wise. But if there's one, property that's gonna do it on their own, then once that word gets out that their area's nice and taken care of, it's gonna be like a wildfire. Say, when are you gonna start ours? You know, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna have to figure you're gonna do it all.
So who's doing it? Highway?
Yeah, see, the highway's gonna do it by herself. And once that gets out, they'll say, well, the highway's got nice clean air and you don't have to worry about infections or anything. When are you gonna start ours? So that's what I'm concerned about.
This cleans out the virus.
Right.
That's what it does. As well with other things.
My question would be, does 28 have enough money to take this hit for a while?
I don't know. I mean,
The issue is, who knows about this federal money?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
may not come.
I'm sure you're gonna get all kinds of money, but you can't pay for something and then can you take the federal money to reimburse yourself?
yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. That's true.
What does the rest of the committee think? Tom, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, to me, do it, you know, the money's gonna come, there's no question about that.
Yeah, but can we reimburse for something we already
It's
bought?
already it's already in the approval stage as far as the grants.
I was just gonna say, Stephanie, did you want to ask that?
Well, as far as the CURES grant that we applied for the 1.3 million, everything had to be charged and invoiced by 12/30. And I'll get talk later. So as far as being reimbursed, I would assume that the next grant would run that way as well. We would have to submit charges or invoices that we have already done and then get reimbursed. I mean, I don't want to speak definitely, but I don't think that, because that's how CURES is running, we are submitting it after the fact to show that we did do these improvements and pay for this stuff.
Okay, interesting. Tina, what are your thoughts then?
I mean, if 28 wants to take the hit for it until we get a grant, and roll those dice,
yeah, there's
you
no
know?
guarantees.
I know it, I mean, that's what I'm gonna say, they're rolling the dice with it. I don't know where else you're gonna get it
Where
from.
are we getting evidence that this is gonna do anything for anybody?
Follow the science.
Part of it.
Well, I understand, but where's the science? Should we look at the science first before we? I mean, I don't know what they're proposing. The air system is not very definitive. But anyway, that's my only concern is we get caught by somebody selling us a bill of goods that, again, runs into a lot of maintenance that comes up later and all of a sudden we're hooked on it because we can't go back. So, but I don't understand what the system is, so
Yeah, I don't.
I can't jump up and down and
It's
say
an
no or yes, either one.
It's an ionization device.
Ionization system, yeah. And,
the way I understand it, it puts a charge on the particles in the air. And then basically they're caught on the filtering substrate.
Like your air purifiers at home.
I've got that in my house. And I got a big filter, but I know my annual filter cost is 10 times what everybody else's is. Because that filter doesn't change itself and then you got the particles and the cleaning, but
you have to change the filters anyway. You'd have to change the filters anyway,
we
whether you
still have a
have.
filter, but my filters, I'm just talking about my little house, not a whole set of county buildings. I mean, is this gonna be a $20,000 a year annual maintenance expense to maintain the air level at some? It does any good, I think we need to do more than just sit here and approve $100,000. We're worried about a $20,000 maintenance contract, and we're gonna get the money, but we're gonna blow off 100 on a fly-by-night coming through and saying you're gonna get better air.
Okay. Craig, I'm gonna ask for, I was going around all the committees, so, Craig Emmer, are you on still?
Yes.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I'm kind of between right here. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't have any input.
Gary?
It's fine too.
Oh, Jerry's on?
Jerry's on.
Jerry, what's your thought? I guess, Gary, what are your thoughts on this?
Like the health department, I'm sure they have some CARES money that could be used through their building. The nursing home's gotten some, I don't know how much is left, whether they can pay for part of it out of theirs.
She may.
I think in the long run, it is a thing to do. But I'd like to wait a month and see what's coming down. Because I don't know where we're gonna find $100,000.
Michael?
Now, do I understand, previous year, we received some cure money? We used that cure money for salaries? Some input? Did we receive money from the government of $1,300,000
Not yet.
that we used? Now, what?
No.
We never received that money.
We did receive that. No.
No,
We have not received that
You're confusing CARES and
$1,300,000.
CARES.
right.
We received CARES money. Where that was spent was prior to me coming in, so I cannot give a lot of information. The CARES money, we have not received any
Okay.
at all.
So it's, I thank you
Yeah, no.
for defining the fund that we did receive. So, that previous year,
We're
we,
approved for it, hold on, we're approved for it, we just haven't actually got the check.
Correct.
So
I was
we
planning
had,
on discussing that.
for payroll expenses that previous year, we had already budgeted for that expense. Yes or no?
No.
No.
We did not, we did not
Yes,
have cash available
That was all.
to pay for the money in payroll. We didn't have the money available, or we did.
And that was only.
Hold on, let's, no, remember the sidebar discussions, so. Restate your question.
We received funds from the government, and we used it for payroll. In that particular,
According to the auditor.
Okay.
no, We did not receive money.
we did not use that, what did we use it for?
We did not, hold on.
I'm getting confused here because I'm understanding that we created a budget for 2020. Now, during 2020 fiscal year, the government gave us money and we used it for paying expenses, and particularly payroll expenses.
Okay,
So that to me means we've got extra income.
according to the auditor, we did not receive that money, and I don't believe we budgeted last year to receive 1.3. Maybe I'm wrong, but when we made that budget out, it was November of.
We didn't include it in the previous year's budget because we didn't know we were going to get it, correct?
That money, and I'm trying to find it, but that $1,402,000 is in this year's budget
This
already.
This year's,
Right.
yes.
It's already spent in this year's budget.
Gotcha.
So it's not free money it's already in here.
Okay, that's good that we're tracking the funds.
But I don't know.
All I'm asking is that money is being tracked this year because we spent it on payroll the previous year. What happened to the money that we had already put into the budget the previous year? Where did that go?
Can I make a suggestion here? We'll wait till the auditor's report, what she has to say in this.
Okay, sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Listen along.
Did you have something?
The only thing I would say is that, you know, I'd agree with Gary. I don't know what harm it would do to wait another month, see what comes out of Washington.
So,
And the other thing I would say is that, as I mentioned, Kurt has a listing of every department. If we wanted to do it by department, how much it would cost. And I would suggest that we go around and ask those departments, we need you to kick in $2,000 for this system, whatever. Okay, we do that with the phone system. We got $130,000 from the other departments to help pay for that. And I think we should do that here.
okay, so I have one question myself.
Yeah.
So if we wait a month, tell me about what this, when you got a bid here, and it was for $98,000, I'm holding my hand here. So they just don't, you call them on Monday, they're not putting it in on Tuesday afternoon, are they? There's a lead time, right?
Give me a second. That's on hold. If I'm not mistaken, those are on hold, and we should not be talking about them.
Numbers.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
yeah, we need to wait on that till the Kurt's taking care of the situation, so we need to figure out, like Bob said, those bids are good for, or Gary said, those bids are good for 6 months. But we have not followed through on them as far as any awarding or anything.
Okay, all right. So anyway, getting back to my question. What type of lead time is there on a project like this?
Didn't Kurt say 3-4 weeks?
Roughly like that.
Pretty quick, pretty quick, in fact.
So 3 or 4
Maintenance
weeks?
is we will be installing in the AC unit. Maintenance will,
And you'll be individual AC units?
yes.
Okay.
We will go to each unit and we have to run some power to it. And then, the way these things hook up inside the unit, they hook up with magnets, so you're not gonna be no drilling. And what's good about that, eventually, when we get more money down the road, we get rid of these old units, you can pull them right out and put them right into the new units.
Gary had something? So does the committee want to wait a month to see what about federal funding? Is that what I hear? Sounds like.
Well, we need to check with some of the departments in this month to see who has any CARES money, I guess, that they could use for their department.
All right, so it's not necessarily waiting only for federal, we're waiting for our local funds. How we're going to divvy everything up. So we have a good plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Does committee sound like they're on board with that? WebEx, you guys good with that?
Yes, good.
Okay. I think we're good.
You good?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Good as it's gonna get.
That's all right. There's only time.
Yeah, UFI extension. We got, they wrote us a letter requesting, that we budget, that we provide them $50,000, so. It's budgeted, so we just need a motion to pay it.
Oh, they just want the check.
Yeah. Does anybody want to look at this? No? All right. A motion by Tina, second by Gary. Any discussion on the matter? Yes, Chairman?
Now, what are these funds used for? The
Thank you for asking.
or age or,
Yeah, that's part of it.
Whatever that's.
please cut the sidebar.
Hey, gentlemen. So I'll just paraphrase off the letter. Annual funding is critical to county services. They provide prevention education to thousands of youths, work on developing life skills and leadership. They provide nutrition, wellness, community and economic development, family life, agricultural nurture, resource education, and also special grants to serve the most at-risk youth and adults in LaSalle County. And they provide support on healthy nutrition, lifestyles, food budgeting, and food safety. They also work with the LaSalle County Health Department, food pantries, and other agencies to serve their clients. So, yeah, it's 4-H, but they do so much more too.
Yeah, okay.
So.
This is to approve giving the money that we budgeted, or is this
Yes.
asking
No.
for?
Nope.
It's just to write the check.
Yep.
Because I know their fiscal year starts July 1st.
And they always wait.
Yeah, and
To get their-
that's what I thought first when I saw that. I'm like, well, that's awful early. So.
I get it early, it's early all the time, but I figured if I have it ready to go and it's budgeted, ready.
And I know when
to
they
go,
came to our budget meeting, she brought a whole packet telling us everything they spent their money on at that time. I didn't keep mine, sorry.
Tom?
Do we get, oh, I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
Well, isn't this gonna create an accounting problem in relationship to how we do this because of the fact that we're talking about paying it early?
We're not paying it.
No, we're paying it within the fiscal year.
We're paying it in our year.
Okay,
Yeah, we're good.
all right, okay, all right. Just didn't sound that way.
It might look bad if we paid it December, you know what I mean, for 21, we paid it right away in December, that would look like we were paying double.
Right.
And I think why you're bringing that up is that actually happened, didn't it?
Good.
We did do that, remember once with this?
Yeah, we doubled it up.
Yeah, double dip.
Chairman, you had something?
Do we get a report back from the board members as to what transpires in those meetings that they're involved in?
I don't.
We have somebody on the, there's two people
We
on the
get
board,
the-
don't we?
We get the agenda and then
Well-
something else from like, Randy goes.
Who's on that board?
Maybe I'll talk with them, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I was on that at one time, and they have a minute available and that type of thing, you know, as far as that goes, and, so, there's, you know, quite a reporting system, they have different departments and so forth, you know, within their structure that reports at the committee level also, when our members are there.
Well, there's two county board members on that.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Walker and Mr. Stockley.
Oh, is it
Randy.
Stockley? Oh, I thought it was Mike. Oh, is it?
I'm citizen
So,
at large.
well, it was,
It was
I-
Steve
I-
Tufty.
yeah, I think it's Elmer and Doug Stockley,
Oh,
I think.
right, Elmer.
Alright, Mike, you had
Yeah, in response to Chairman Jensen, I had served on a committee for now 6 years, and I got involved with it, particularly for the fact as I saw it as an existential importance because we're a heavy agricultural county, and I felt that it was important. Me being the city boy, I never realized the importance of the University of Illinois Land Grant College as to what it did for extenuating education in LaSalle County. Now, one of the blessed things that we have with the University of Illinois, we have people with doctorates and masters of education that we can tap through the university system for all of the necessities as to improving the quality of life and the importance of our agricultural movement here in LaSalle County. We do have community activism through the school systems, from the elementary education until even to the University of Illinois services, and then also our junior college. One of the nice things of funding the way we do is that the University of Illinois College VACES, which they call themselves, have got a matching grant fund. So every dollar that we give on behalf of LaSalle County to the University of Illinois, the University of Illinois matches that for operating expenses in our unit district 85%. So every dollar that we give them, we get 85 cents back. What a sweet deal. And what the nice thing is it's giving the opportunity to extend the quality of life, the educational values of the people that are really serviced with an economic driving force of almost $30-some thousand in agriculture here in LaSalle County. So it's very important and it's money well spent.
Thank you, Michael. Tom?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, but I just wanted to mention also that there are 2 counties in this district that tax individually, separately for this. So it's actually not coming out of their general fund.
Correct.
And I have stressed that when I was on that committee years ago, that they consider putting it on the ballot and attempting to do it here in LaSalle County also. And there was always kickback on it from the standpoint that they didn't think it would pass. Well, if we don't try, we'll never know. And it had been attempted, I guess, many years ago. But I think now with the number of people that are involved in it and so forth, and I see nothing but those figures going up, you know, that there might be a chance to do something like that, which would alleviate that cost coming out of our general fund. That was my interest.
Kurt?
If the membership's going this way, all the county fairs are, this is a wonderful investment, but it's, the numbers are failing. And that's why the U of I has quit. Everybody used to fund it, but we want to keep funding it because we don't need another taxing body, because the minute you get a taxing body, then the cost's gonna go up, so. But we approved this back in the budget and went through this debate back when they came here to present it.
Sure, right. I'm there, I bring it up every year when they come in. I know they don't, agree to anything, but the point is, it's out there, and as you say, it comes from another taxing body, but it doesn't in turn come through us. It's direct, to them, that's the point.
Is that as a levy or a sales tax or what?
Oh, it's just a levy.
Levy?
A levy.
Mike, did you have something?
Yeah, and one more thing, to qualify the fact is that our budget year, the extension service starts in June. So that's why we're here to the county right now and requesting the funding that you guys have always understood the importance of to work forward and improve the quality of agricultural education in LaSalle County. And we so much appreciate that. We really do.
I think 3 years ago, top of my head, it was like 42,000, so it's gone.
Right.
It's gone up 60, we've raised in the last 3 years 16%.
So graciously you've raised it, absolutely.
We've looked at this and this committee has decided that the value of that is, we've underpaid. So. Okay. The next one is the Robin Schwartz contract, the intergovernmental agreement.
Excuse me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Is there a vote on that?
Oh, what?
Give my buddy.
No, I thought we just had discussion. I don't think there was.
It was approved by Bush, second by Small.
Yeah, but we just had discussion on it. I don't think there was any vote.
That was the motion.
That was the motion. Okay, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, next thing is the Robin Schwartz contract intergovernmental agreement. Do you guys get an email on that at all? No? Do we have a copy of it?
Send it out.
I have a copy of it.
Do we make copies for everybody?
What is it, the second year of the contract?
Who's for that?
That's for that,
You mind making copies? Hey, we're gonna make copies of it really fast. So, go ahead, Chairman, do you want to talk about it?
that's an intergovernmental agreement with, Dimmick Grade School District and IPCC on the,
Oh, yes.
board review petition
Yeah, for those
on the change in, basically we get a packet of all the requested reviews for over $100,000 on assessed properties, I should say. And those were over in the Dimick School, and I was informed by Mr. Riverdale that we participated with them before on that process. So the intergovernmental agreement is to share the legal costs on that board review hearing. I'm assuming, I don't know where it's going to go to. I think the information will come out the 8th, I think, possibly. So that's what that's about.
Was it the hearing last month?
Yeah, it's like the 24th or 25th.
So it's over now.
Yeah, they don't make a ruling till.
Yeah, I think, let me think here. I'm sorry, I don't remember which one it was. There's somebody bringing some, a further study, I want to say March 5th, and I think the information is going out March 8th, I think, next Monday, that people can call in and check. So I don't think the decision will be till later in March, if I'm not mistaken, as to their decisions on those awards of the petitions.
I should recognize that name to know that that was that contract. It's like.
I'm part of land use, also part of the community over there in the west end of the county. Became very good friends with Mr. Lenny at Dimick as the superintendent. Involved with education at LP High School. Friends with Dr. Parker at IPCC.
I sure will.
Also, Dr. Robleski at the local high school. And one of the situations is they're all part of the taxing districts when it comes to the TIFs. Situation being is that there are 3 or 4 businesses over there that feel that they're being unfairly impacted because of the COVID problem that we're having right now and the amount of income from the commercial establishments that are being compromised. They're not making the monies that they would normally make in their business. So that where they're at right now is they want to appeal the EAV value of their property, that being PetSmart, Kohl's, and I believe Hobby Lobby. So that's part of the appeal process when it comes to those districts because they're part of the TIF. And it shakes out, as Chairman Jensen made mention, based on the amount of EAV that we charge or the tax increment that we charge, we will then pay a portion of that contract to Robert Schwartz for representation to appeal the actual cost of where we feel they don't deserve the reduction of their tax liability. So that's kind of where it's at. From what I've understood, everybody has different ideas as to whether tax increment financing works and whether it actually impacts the schools, the communities. We've talked at length at our land services meetings when it comes to TIF income, the amount of money that Julie Harris through the Treasurer's Department has made mention since the TIF districts have been incorporated in LaSalle County. We've lost almost $10 million because of TIFs in income. And so it always becomes a concern, particularly finance, in trying to bolster our income through appeal of the taxing responsibilities. And we're hoping that we won't lose that much money if we hire Robinson Schwartz to appeal the process to keep our EAV values higher. Kind of where we're at, guys.
Okay, thank you, Michael. All right, so we have this agreement ahead of us, so we're looking for a motion to approve as presented and forward seconded by Tom. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, motion carries. The next thing is a motion to approve the February per diem for board member Michael Cassidy, District 12. So it's in the amount of $360. You have a motion? By Tom, seconded by Tina. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, I have two things on here for the IDCA, the ordinance. I asked the chairman to send the documentation they had, so. Did you guys all see that in your email? Did everybody have a chance to review it?
I printed it out. Then I was kind of surprised when the printer kept going and going. I was like, oh.
There was a lot.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
It's almost like it's really involved.
Did the attorneys approve it?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did our state's attorney approve the contract?
No, I have to talk with Mark. I don't know if he's had a chance to review them yet. He's been involved in some other issues. I think we really should talk to him first. I have some questions about, that's the reason I sent it out to the finance committee to review them and any thoughts, and I think Mr. Anderson should take a look at them and see. For sure. I don't think he's had a chance to yet. Last time I talked with him.
Okay. I'm gonna pull it up. Yeah, essentially a lot of these, I got invited to March 9th. I think Will County is doing their rollout. So I got an email that I could be part of the virtual tour rollout on that, so you can see how they do that. Kankakee just approved it, so I don't think we want to take any action today on it, but we do want us to review it and discuss it. And I sent Amanda to go get one of the state's attorneys. I talked to Todd yesterday, so he said him or Mark would be here for it, so discuss it. Go ahead, Kurt.
Both the Illinois Energy Conservation Authority, is that part of the next ordinance, the base agreement?
Yeah, that's.
Because, I mean, the only thing that we're trying to satisfy people on is that the county has no liability.
Right.
And I don't know, I mean, I don't know why it's so difficult for everybody to understand there's no liability, but again, it's gonna take Todd or
Did you read this?
somebody. Oh, I understand, I went and met with the guy.
Because here it's saying that they want us to do bonds.
We
I don't
do
understand.
bonds. We as a county just have to authorize it, but the bonds are issued by somebody else. The county does not take any liability.
That's not what it says on the con.
But they're gonna issue
That's how
bonds.
I'm reading this, though, Kurt. Unless I'm reading it wrong. I have to
That's how we gotta get somebody to come in and tell us we have no direct liability for anything that happens.
Right, we just need the way, I read through it, and it doesn't say in plain folk language, the county has no liability. It references it in various legal obligations in the various documents, but we just need a legal opinion, right? Like you just stated, to say, yes, the county is not on the hook.
And it never gets to the lawyer to give us the opinion. Maybe it's there now.
This is Craig Emmett. Can I speak?
Yep, go ahead, Craig.
I just got through the assessment contract and just from the program requirements, the county has determined that the property owner has met all necessary program requirements for this agreement. So right there, we're putting some responsibility on us there. I thought we were hiring this company to do the work for us. I don't know why they have that in there. Also down on third-party beneficiary, the parties acknowledge that the administrator is a third-party beneficiary of this agreement. To me, if we're hiring somebody to do the administration work, they're subcontractors. The way, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but the way I'm reading this, it's like we're going to kind of be liable here. And I did read in there too that we were going to issue bonds.
I thought they issued bonds.
It says we do.
Yeah,
Chairman?
I read the same verbiage as well, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. I just talked with Mr. Anderson, and he said to go ahead and approve it with pending approval by, or what should I say, pending review by legal.
That's a poor way to do things. That's a poor way to do things, in my opinion.
Pardon?
That's a poor way to do things, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Why don't you wait till Monday?
To our Monday meeting, yeah.
At noon.
You mean 11:30?
11:30.
10 o'clock?
We'll start at 10. Bring lunch in.
Can't have more than 6 eat or something like that, right?
At one table.
At one table. Sorry, anyway, go ahead.
Just wait till Monday. If he doesn't have the, his opinion by then, we're not gonna take it to the full board.
Yeah, that's fine. He said he'd move it up on his docket, so to speak, and,
I'll be back up with that.
I don't know. I would prefer to see something that actually had a contract with, says LaSalle County in it and everything, and we're reviewing it as a group. I mean, everybody's in the room discussing like Craig's point about, no, it says bonds, then we have this argument on the full board, floor, and then it turns out that's not the case, or it is the case, and it's, I don't know. I don't know if I feel it.
well, I was talking to Craig about it. These are templates, okay? And I think there's one in there that has LaSalle in it, but they're templates. And if nothing else, I would think there's a possibility that legal could take a look at it and revise it to such an extent that basically excludes any type of liability whatsoever for the county. In verbiage, it's going to be quite clear instead of this. What I'm seeing is dubious. I mean, I see in there it says the county will issue bonds, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, we don't issue bonds.
Tom first.
Yeah, similar to some type of a disclaimer clause, or however the title would be. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, it's a template, like I say, and I think if nothing else, if we're going to do this, we should be able to write it in such a manner that
We have
it's
the
amenable to the county in our terms.
Mike, you had something?
As a member of the community and the CL investment group that wants to use this type of particular financing, CPACE, the CL investment real estate development group, I'm reading through some of the documentation that they presented, and I don't know, I hope that everybody on the board has received all of this as information, and I just very, for me, it was very kind of eye-opening, and I don't know how the interpretation has come about, that what CPACE is, special assessments, it doesn't read the way I'm hearing some of the interpretation is. and maybe I'm not very good at interpretation as to the way the group that's involved with presenting the programs. I just looked up on my phone as to what the Illinois Energy Conservation Authority is. It's a group of 4 or 5 different people that are willing to take on the liability to provide for funding to an investment group that wants to further economic development in a community. And I'm very happy and excited at the fact that it would happen in LaSalle. We have over 100-year-old building over there, and I can see the benefit of the EAV increasing because these people want to put over $30 million into improving the community. I mean, it's an economic development tool. It's going to create jobs. It's going to take a blighted area and create a better appeal for our community. It's going to bring outside tourism and investment to our area. So I don't see the negativity of encouraging any type of economic development. And I do agree with the chairman and committee members in their interpretation as to whether they feel that we may be liable. But everything that I have read, we are not going to be left on the hook for anything. We are not going to have to pay for the loan to the CL investment group. All we are going to be able to do, from what I understand, is be the agency that will make CL Investment Group responsible for sending their payment to the treasurer's office. That's the only tracking that I see that they and us at the LaSalle County will be responsible for. And I look at it as tomorrow, we're going to have a tax sale up here in this room. The treasurer is going to sell properties. And if it gets to that point where the CL Investment Group is not going to be able to pay their loan, they'll be up here selling their property. And the treasurer is doing that right now with all the properties they'll be selling tomorrow. So that's the real liability that we have with people that aren't being responsible because they cannot get economic development. This may be the actual tool that will improve the lot in life for those that have properties that they want to improve. I may be a little bit too passionate about it, but I just see that whole area for the last 15, 20 years. The family has already privately invested over $3 million in just repairing the property to bring it up to current code standards because they don't want to lose it. They have already purchased almost $5 million of surrounding area in the city of LaSalle. So they've made a financial investment already. It's not moving as fast as everybody wants it to, but where in life do we have all that extra available money unless we get people to invest in it for us that we can move forward? So this is the perfect opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me go off.
It would be the chairman, then Tina. Chairman?
IECA is a third-party administrator. They will not be taking on the liability. They are the third-party administrator between the property owner, the county, and the equity investor. Okay? And the situation that you're looking at, basically those bonds that are going to be issued, they will be similar in line for repayment as to the taxes. And if there is any loans whatsoever that are on that piece of property, that bank has to sign off on that refinance, that further financing for that conservation project. IECA will do the assessment on that project, I'm assuming, to make sure that it meets those conservation requirements of that investment monies. And so that's what you are looking at there is a presentation. The documents that I sent out, as far as I'm concerned, that's the nuts and bolts of the relationship between IECA, the county, the property owner, and the investor.
Tina?
I just wanted to let Mike know that I don't think there's any one of us that are dead set against this. We just want something in front of us that says we're not liable. And I think most of us would be happy to go ahead with this. But right now it's pretty vague.
And then we don't, right now, we just need, everybody needs to read, digest, understand everything, so we don't, I don't wanna see it be 15, 14 on a board floor, right? And I don't think you do either, right, if you're passionate about such an issue. So it either go, to me, if it is what it is, I think the board would be 29-0. If it is, right? So why have a 3-hour firefight when we can sit down and figure out the legal contracts and make sure everything works to benefit everyone? So, not that we can't have a 3-hour firefight.
We've been known to have them.
Seems that that's the way of the world, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mike, the cities in the county have the capability to do this on their own.
Sure.
So, basically, I think things need to be looked at closely in regards to the county's responsibilities to make sure that we're covered properly. I don't disagree with Mr. Faber on the situation, but I read through the contracts and I'm
Well, they're
concerned.
They're boilerplate contracts, right?
Pardon?
They're boilerplate contracts is what they are.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Right.
Tom?
Yeah, and the one brochure that I have is from the Illinois Finance Authority. I'm sure everybody got one of those. And on page 4, I thought it was rather interesting, and I think we should include the county assessor in on some of this discussion, because it says the aggregate amount financed or refinanced under one or more of the assessment contracts cannot exceed 25% of the greater. The value of the property is determined by the Office of County Assessor, or the value of the property is determined by an appraisal conducted by a licensed appraiser. So we've got kind of a double hit there in relationship to that, but I still think our assessors.
Can I answer that? We discussed that previously. Do you remember this?
Oh, yes, but I just.
The assessor really has nothing to do with it, because all that is saying is from a borrowing point of view, they shouldn't exceed 25% of what the assessor said. That's it. It has nothing more than that. And then when we had the assessors in here back in September and all that, and they were asking what's their role was, you really don't, you just do your job. And that's focused on something else.
But we really have to make sure that there's an understanding with that office, that there's no inflationary attempt on any of this stuff, that they're,
Well, there shouldn't be anyhow, right?
well, there shouldn't be, no.
The assessor's independent.
We don't live in a perfect world.
We don't influence the assessor anyway, that's illegal.
I'm sorry, what was that, Kurt?
We can't influence the assessor.
No, we're not influencing, we're just
You're asking to supervise the assessor and tell her to make, but we can't, that's an
No, I'm not.
independent action over there.
Well, if I didn't mean to say tell her, I just meant to say inform her of how this is set up, so that there's no misunderstanding when it comes down to the fact of the value. There's always problems with, not necessarily assessors, but a licensed appraiser inflating the value of something. And I realize it's illegal, but we still can get caught in these kind of situations. And that's the reason I'm bringing it up, so we're aware that that's out there, and that we need to consult with everybody involved at our level to make sure that we're covering the situation. And
So basically you're saying if this has an assessed value of $10 million, and basically the most that should be loaned on that particular situation is $2.5 million.
That's the way I read this. Now, if this is correct, but this isn't in the actual document, this is a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, I believe. Yeah.
So can we leave this on the agenda for next month? Read through it, and hopefully maybe we can get the state's attorney's help and review on this, and then present stuff that's not maybe a template, but. Okay, next thing, I'm not aware of any credit cards to approve. Are there any other department agreements we haven't talked about? Grants, CARES grants, CARES, we already kind of covered. We discussed the budget amendment. Right? We already did that. So an auditor's report, Stephanie?
I'm going to be brief. So, it looks like in past practices, there was a quarterly audit report issued. Is that correct? Yeah, okay. Since the quarters just ended, it'll probably be a week before the books balance and so forth, and then I'll get that out. Would you like that in a hard copy? Because the one I saw was lots of pages.
Yeah.
Or would you prefer?
I would, I mean,
I think we make one hard copy,
And you
so
pass it
that,
around?
yeah,
Okay,
and we reference it,
okay.
so if anybody wants to see it, if not, if possible, email it.
Yeah, I should be able to email it. I just didn't know if you wanted your own physical hard copy?
They do, they have one physical hard copy,
Right.
and then I think there's like a signature page and all that,
Okay.
right? Attached to it, that
I didn't see
sign,
that on
or
there.
chairman signs. Does the whole committee sign it?
I believe we do.
Yeah,
I think we do
I think
too.
we do, now that you say that.
Yeah.
I just know Tina likes her hard copy.
I know it.
I mean, if you want mine,
My eyes aren't as good.
Well, if you get it and would like one, just let me know, but
Okay.
I'll just produce one and then the rest will be emailed. The outside auditors are done here with the exception of Matt, he'll be back on Thursday, he just has to go through some invoices, other than that, they will start our draft. Mr. Faber, I looked into the auto pay on our utility bills, and that's not possible. We can't lump all of our accounts together and pay it out that way at the same time every month.
They won't cooperate.
I called my core, Ameren, we have home field energy as well. The problem is each account is associated with a different address, and so they can't lump them all together. So we'll continue to write checks for those on a monthly basis. I said that we haven't paid Bento since January 8th, and Julie and I are discussing taking some of that money back and putting it back where it belongs. Wendy had a webinar on Friday in regards to grants. Talked about upcoming grants, and she also subscribed to that she'll get emails in regards to new grants that will be out and so forth. And then next Wednesday, I have a budget prep workshop. Seems like we just got done with the budget, but it's already in the works. And that's all I have for that. Any questions on that before I get into the other?
Michael?
In the past, and I'm thinking that we can bundle, or however we do it, that everybody gets a copy of that email.
Sure, I can send it to all of them.
It was something that I would, if time permitted, go
You're
through
talking
the 800,
quarterly
go through
audit.
the 800 pages to see exactly what our
Okay.
balance was at each, accounting cycle, or however you'd want to do it. It was very informative. Something would cue in my head, but I'd at least look it up as to where our balances were.
In the quarterly audit report.
Yeah, this is an ongoing educational forum for you and for me, so that we at least have that transparency.
Yeah, I can send it to all of them.
You don't want me down in the office, I'll guarantee you.
Sure, my door's open anytime.
It's
Okay.
actually not, it's blocked. We don't have a fob to get to that office.
Yes, it's
so-
actually locked, we can't get to it.
It's not a-
There's a back stairwell over there, so.
Well, I know how to go around through the elevator. too.
There you go, so.
Like I said.
If you want in, you just call me and I'll come let you in. Moving on to our favorite subject, the grant money. As I said, the CARES Act was done last year. I don't know a whole lot about that, to be honest. I believe that's already been utilized and there's no more. The CURES is the 1.3 million that we applied for. I have been looking for information on where that dollar amount came from. I don't know if that's what we were told that we were eligible for, so obviously you're going to apply for that maximum if that's what you're eligible for. In the beginning, it was thought that we could submit all of our entire payroll for that. So we submitted it, and we got it back for a few reasons. The first reason was it still had Jim Olson's name on it, so that has been changed to Don's, so that problem is solved. The next is we submitted all of the hours paid not worked during that time that the county was shut down. In my reading, I don't believe all of those hours are eligible for reimbursement. So now our amount goes from 1 million down to 200,000. So, I mean, Don and I are still looking into this. We're gonna go over the emergency paid sick hours. I believe those figures were off as well. I believe they were short, so Don also thinks that we have a little bit more there. I've gone through our entire disaster fund to see how much we've spent on like additional cleaning. I've come up to about $200,000 there. So examples of costs which are eligible for reimbursement under the program. Payroll expenses for public safety, health, healthcare, human services, and similar employees whose services were substantially dedicated to mitigating or responding to COVID-19. So when this building shut down, we were not responding to COVID-19, we just shut down. Now, if we would have furloughed all the employees and they would have went on unemployment, those costs would have been reimbursed. So, I am going to try to get the whole $1.3 million. I'll look at expenses for every department. Obviously, you think of the health department, probation, those have already been reimbursed through other grants, so those are not.
How about like the sheriff's department then, would their hours be?
Well, we kind of thought maybe we could submit all of public safeties, but the problem is the public safety has to be over and beyond. So like COVID related.
Okay.
Exactly, but here's my thoughts. I've asked Jeannie and payroll for a record from 2018, 19, and 20 to compare the amount of overtime spent in all those years and then do like an average, because I'm sure we did have more overtime in 2020. And obviously, if I can justify that, then I can request that. I have no idea how much money that will be though.
And then how about the departments that did stay open? I mean, I know IT was here working, I know there was a few other departments here working even when it was shut down.
But they were working and it wasn't dedicated to COVID.
Just to that, okay.
So I mean,
But IT would have been because they were setting up outside things for people to continue to do their work.
I may be able to do some of their payroll, but it's not gonna be the entire
audit,
payroll
okay.
because you have to justify that.
I'm grasping.
Yeah, no, I haven't even, that's why I ran Fund 97 this morning, I'm like, how much money do we have here? So again, I'm really educating myself, coming into the middle of it has been a little difficult. However, they have extended it, the deadline to get all of this in until January 30th, 2022, I will not take that long. But we were kind of hoping, since they extended that deadline, that they would extend the expenses that had to be used. All expenses had to be incurred between March 1st and December 30th. So as you were asking about getting reimbursed, so it all had to be expensed by then, and we will get reimbursed. So with ionization, we were kind of hoping that they maybe would have extended that. And it's not to say that they won't, I mean, it changes daily as to what we can and cannot do. So, Don and I are working together we will find the one again. We'll do our best.
Can I back up to the labor part? You said because we shut down and sent them home and paid them, that doesn't qualify, but if they'd have been laid off and drew unemployment, that would qualify, but how would that qualify if we weren't paying them anything?
Yeah, let me.
I mean, it sounds like it's backwards.
We had to furlough employees and therefore expect to have unemployment insurance costs for these employees receiving unemployment during their furlough. Would the unemployment insurance cost be an eligible expense under the local cure program? Unemployment insurance cost increases during the period of March 1st to December 30th directly related to COVID-19 would be reimbursable. Just because we shut down, that was our choice to shut down, I do not believe that those hours are going, all of those hours, I mean, we paid some employees well over 400 hours just to stay home. And I don't believe all of those are going to be reimbursable.
Well, we don't know yet.
I have a question out there, but the more I read and the more Don reads, we chose that, it's not.
Well, no, I understand, but it sounds backwards, but now that you read it to me, our additional unemployment insurance costs were reimbursable.
Yes.
But paying employees directly to stay home is not reimbursable.
Correct.
But Is this our interpretation, or was it sent back because somebody higher up?
Yes, it was sent back because of the lead sheet that we had and the hours that we had posted were more than the 80 hours allotted. I mean, we are allowed up to 80 hours, but not all employees took that emergency paid sick time, correct?
No.
And we only had 3 employees that took the Illinois Family Leave Act. And I mean, those 3 will be eligible, but that's only 3 out of 480 employees. Yeah.
I got a question in regard to the overtime that took place as these people returned to work. Was that fit into the equation in any way?
I'm gonna have to be very, that's why I think I'm gonna do an average, because I'm gonna have to be very careful. I mean, we have overtime regardless whether there's COVID.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah, but no, you're right. I'm gonna have to,
Attributable to the fact that all that
right,
on the
because
job time was lost.
like the 2 weeks that the jail was down an entire shift, I've heard that the jail was down an entire shift. Obviously, that whole 2 week of payroll should be reimbursable. Those are people we had to call in for extra time that we normally wouldn't have had to, because the normal employees could not work their normal functions. So,
I mean, there has to be, some time there.
Yeah, but not enough to get to our number we need.
Well, but,
So
every little bit helps to.
when we were told this, we were said, oh, all public safety, just use their payroll, it's the easiest way to go. And now you're getting rule interpretation saying that's not the case.
what Don and I read, the public safety employees had to be strictly COVID related. So I mean, you've got your normal 24/7 corrections officers and police officers, that's not COVID related. I mean, we run a 24/7 operation.
So you're saying like, I have a sheriff deputy, he responds to a call, he doesn't know if it's COVID or not, that doesn't count.
No, I would, I'm sorry.
I mean, that's their interpretation.
I see what you're saying there.
That's the state's interpretation. Yeah. And this is going to all counties?
Yeah, this is on their webpage of all questions asked. There is another section here. Reimbursable expenditure test. If true can be answered for all of the below, the local cure funds may be used. The expense is connected to the COVID-19 emergency. So our normal 24/7 operations payroll is not connected to COVID. The expense is necessary. The expense is not filling a shortfall of government revenues. The expense is not funded through another budget line item, allotment, or allocation as of March 27th, 2020. So payroll up to there, that was already been allotted, so it'd have to be payroll from March 28th moving forward. The expense is not being reimbursed through a different emergency response program, and the expense wouldn't exist without COVID-19. So we have that payroll expense without COVID-19. And that's why I thought to do the average of the overtime over the last 3 years.
Do you have that sheet that Joyce would have used back when she was interpreting, or is it irrelevant? I mean,
Well, as I said, I mean, different things, I mean, this was just updated
Yeah.
yesterday, I mean, things change daily.
so when that one changes though, my question is, does it supersede everything that we've done back to March 27th a year
Well,
ago?
I would say because we did get it back and we have to fix these items, and now that they have to be fixed, I would think that we have to abide by the current
We
guidelines.
can't go back to the one that was used then?
No.
Wow, I knew that.
I have several questions, if I may.
All right.
Have we talked to other counties to see how they're dealing with this? Whether it's the auditor, or I know some of them have finance groups.
No, I haven't. Again, this just kind of came about when we got it back, and as to how we were going to go after this additional money since we couldn't use all of those hours. I mean, I didn't reach out.
Bigger counties may have more resources.
Absolutely.
And may be looking at things a little bit differently than we are. And part of that time, what about people who quarantined for 14 days? Do we have any idea of?
That would fall under the emergency hours,
emergency paid sick leave.
emergency paid sick leave. which if I'm understanding correct, is only up to 80 hours. But we allow other people to quarantine for more than 80 hours, and then it just fell under the regular payroll.
And maybe we need an interpretation on that to see if we could just send them a set amount of, we know this many people had to quarantine and we're not available to work because of COVID. I don't know.
I mean, I have to submit a sheet with employees' names, the dates, and the hours that we gave them the emergency paid sick time.
Okay, our outside consultant, what is her role in all this? I mean, I thought she was the one that was gonna be all up to speed with all the grants and everything else. Is she still working with us, or?
We ended up not going into a contract, so she's never been paid. I mean, I do keep in touch with her. But again, once we got it back, there was other questions raised, so I mean, I am in touch with her.
We're not even using Joyce anymore because we didn't, I thought we approved $500 a month.
We did, but we couldn't get a contract.
Oh. Okay, can we, and I talked to you about this a little bit more stuff other time. Can we get a list of all the departments who received grant money, the departments that we put in for grant money, and the departments that we put in for grant money and it was rejected? For instance, the highways was rejected. We know the health department got several million dollars.
We didn't put in for the highway, because the highway was at 750,
Yeah.
so that was never even submitted.
Okay.
But all of what we received was on that report I sent you, and it had each fund and department on
You
there.
have the MTD report, that's too hard to read.
Okay, I'll see what I
mean,
can.
why can't we just get a list of the nursing home received $36,000 in January and $46,000 in February, okay? From either CARES or Cures, okay? The detention home received this much money. The health department has received this much money, and they have used this much money. We know they got money for contact tracers, and now they're getting money for other stuff. For instance,
Did you get the sheets I sent you from Elaine at the health department? She's very, very detailed on all of hers. You didn't get those? Okay, I'll resend.
And why are they getting money and who's submitting it for them?
Elaine, she's their grant writer over there.
So we have other departments who are submitting money to.
But the health department.
Because the health department's its own entity as far as grant money. There's so much more available to the health department.
Right.
And same with probation. And,
I still would like to see
EMA.
what's coming in for those departments though,
Okay,
myself, and I think
That's
the other
fine.
board members would too.
And I think it'd be easier for the health department to show that it is
Yeah.
COVID related
right, and she
Oh,
gives
yeah.
very good detail of all of
versus
that.
us here.
Yeah.
Even the nursing home, I would say, would be easier.
Yes, the nursing home was the other one,
Yeah.
and EJ does a good job of keeping track of all of their expenses. Now, the nursing home, they have to spend, they are reimbursed, and then they have to catch up to their paid out amount, and then they have to get the expenses up to that amount for their
Okay.
grants.
Oh,
Those grants that Doug's referring to, that money's already been requested, received, and
Yeah, the nursing
All
home on a
separate
monthly basis.
from
it
this
receives-
1,000,003 is separate.
Yeah,
What is the
yes.
nursing home using that money for? I mean, if they're getting $40,000 a month, shouldn't we be adjusting their
oh, are they? They get that
payroll or
much?
what, or?
Well, I mean, they get like a WIC grant, they get vaccine
well,
grants,
that's
they
really-
get
yeah.
grants for cervical cancer,
You're not talking COVID then, okay.
Yeah, no, it's not COVID specific. The grants they get are specific to health issues.
In the nursing home?
No, at the,
No, I'm talking about the nursing.
oh, the nursing home, they have to be strictly, it's not COVID related as well. It's a lot like the health department. It's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's tied to specific services that the patients receive out there.
Okay.
Well, they're calling them COVID grants, so I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that's what their grants are specifically called as COVID.
Okay.
But I think the question is, they aren't using that grant money to pay line item expenses that we have in the budget?
No, that grant money has to be specifically used for, like the WIC grant, all of that money has to be specifically used for WIC.
Okay, but again, we budgeted so much for the nursing home under various line items.
Correct.
These grants aren't replacing our funding.
No. These are on top.
We don't know, that's my point. How do
And
you
I
know?
think, I kinda agree with Doug, they can't be getting all that money and then still need all our money.
And same way probation, if they're getting COVID money of some kind, it's through the grant.
I mean, I know Pat gets money for his salary replacements for his TAC grant.
Good.
It's a
Yeah,
TAC
but
grant,
they're
it's
not
not even a
COVID.
COVID
Yeah.
grant.
Yeah, but I thought they were getting COVID money too.
I don't think so. He's never reported that at the
The
committee.
only money that he was reimbursed for COVID was his salary reimbursement, so we can't double dip and request that again.
And how did he get that money?
He applied for it through one of his
Okay.
probation grants.
But again, he's working with people, so that gives him a more of a leeway with it too versus us.
But if he received grant money for his payroll that we have on a line item, there's gonna be some extra
But
cash.
that payroll is paid out of the grant.
Yes,
So
we
all
don't,
it's doing is just replacing that grant money.
we don't put it in our budget for it. He gets it.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're not double dipping.
I wanna go, Tom, you have something?
Yeah, just one other suggestion, just a call to the office of our US representatives and our US senators and see if they have anyone in the office that can render any type of assistance. Because those people are geared to help the rest of us. And they should be able to possibly either assist or funnel us to someone who has a liaison person with one of those departments administering these grants. That might be able to give you a little more finite detail, because I can understand what you're saying and how you're reading it and how John's reading it, but, you know, there might be something that's slipping through the cracks here that we might.
Absolutely, and that's why I did send off an email yesterday, but there's also Phil Ketchum, he is like the head of the whole grant. He's very good at returning calls, he's on a call every week with Connie, I believe it's every week with EMA. So he is reachable as well, and I can reach out to him as well,
Sure.
for just further clarification.
You know, I mean,
Again,
a double hit never hurts if you.
oh, for sure,
Yeah.
and coming into the middle has been a little difficult, and, I'm doing the best I
Oh,
can,
absolutely,
and
yeah, and that's, explaining that also would probably put more effort on their part to assist you. And as a result, us all.
I wanna refocus the conversation. We went from a slam dunk to, we just tried to dunk and we just missed the dunk. Now we're laying Okay, so from my perspective, we were told 1.3 million, we just use public safety. This isn't a problem, we budget for this. Now I'm told otherwise. So, and now we're suggesting we'll probably about 500,000 in collectible expenses,
I just did that number in a day, I mean.
which is fine. So I think as a committee now, we've got to say, where are we gonna come up with $800,000?
But that money's already been paid out, so all it would be doing is reimbursing, correct?
That's what we used to balance the budget this year. So my
I'm
question
sorry, I
is-
wasn't in that
no,
house, so.
it's okay. My question is, what are we gonna do to come up with $800,000? We're not running in excess, where we could just be like, oh, we'll be fine. Sharon?
I was talking to Stephanie before, I think we need to take a look at that other hours paid not worked and see if it can be classified as COVID related due to the circumstance. I mean, and basically get some idea as yes or no, if that's possible, because the report that I got, that's pretty close to 900,000.
I mean, we did shut down.
And the other part, the emergency paid sick leave, that's close to 200,000.
And again, I may be reading it incorrectly.
No,
It's very vague and open for
I
interpretation.
mean, we did shut down on our own behalf, I
Right.
mean, but we wouldn't have if it wasn't for COVID.
But see, there's verbiage in there that says the emergency plan. So basically, that I'm assuming would be the executive order causing shelter in place or whatever the case may be.
Or did we have to have a
So we
plan
need
in
to find
place?
out that definition, if that shutdown from March to May qualifies for that here at the county. I'm not saying it doesn't, but we need to find out if it does or not.
So that emergency plan and those documents were prepared strictly for this reimbursement. We were developing those plans all along because each time we came to a meeting, she came in, we have to do this, we have to do that in order to comply, so.
And again, I don't, there's nothing in stone. If you could give me like a few days to touch base with the lady that returned it to me to get some further clarification.
So that meeting Monday is at
It might be 9 o'clock.
9?
Because this is just kind of like the last couple days, so I have not had a lot of time to.
And we probably are not in the same, we're probably in the same boat as other counties too. So maybe we just pay the UCCI bill, right?
Right.
So we could check and ask them, what the United Council of Governments, what are they doing? What are other counties doing? And I'm sure there's probably some counties out there that.
Sure.
Because without payroll, I can't believe that all these other counties would have.
Yeah, that are smaller than us, yeah.
But when they specified that it had to be strictly COVID mitigation or purposes, it's a different. And maybe I'm overreading it.
You're going to Will County, right, Brian?
I got that virtual.
Yeah, well, maybe you can ask them. I read where they spent like $1.5 million putting together a call center just for COVID.
That's different. Will County was one of the counties that was excluded.
Oh, they got all like the page?
They were.
There's Will Lake, DuPage.
Yep.
King. Oh, okay.
That would probably not be the best.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's a good point.
I can call Grundy County.
Yeah.
I know the treasurer there really well, and I know she does a lot of that as well, so if not, she can tell me who does it for them then.
The good, excuse me a second, the good part of this is we have until January 31st, 2022.
But I
Figure out.
I can't have that waiting on me.
I know, it would drive me nuts too.
And if I could say one more thing, Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. But I totally agree with Tom. If you look at Senator Durbin's and Senator Duckworth's and Kinzinger's,
They gotta have somebody on staff.
they got staff
Yeah.
that, deals with all this stuff, and we need to try to get a hold of those people. I'm sure they got several people now that are probably trying to deal with this stuff.
Sure.
But see, in this situation here, these offices are Illinois. These are not federal offices, this is,
Yeah, this is
went into-
state.
this is Illinois here.
Well, yeah, but the state's just getting it from the
Funnel it
federal
through.
government, giving us.
Well-
Or it just flow through, right?
Well,
I think the state received it.
my guess is not just flow through, it's they're monitoring those reimbursements, so to speak.
Well, then Resin and,
Yeah.
what's his name, they got staff, who ought to be able to help.
They probably get to keep what they get back from us.
There you go.
And I did not mean to incite fear by any means, but I just wanted to be fully transparent and just tell you where we're standing on it. I am doing my best and I will keep you all in the loop, but if you give me a few days.
Sure. Any other bad news, Stephanie?
More than,
So I can start
more
with
than
that?
more than a few days, Stephanie.
Besides, it's been 3 hours.
So,
Maybe you could move me to the front of the meeting next week or next month. No, I don't have anything else. I mean, the audit, it does appear that it is going well. They said it's going well, so.
okay. All right, thanks. Senate and House bills.
Yes, we're in the process, they're in the process. The lists have been sent out. I believe every member of the board gets a UCCI listing, and those listings are sent out at least once a week, if not more often, when they're available. And the big thing is, there's questions that have come up, and yesterday one came up and whoops, she's gone now, that there were bills that they were working on in one of the offices that weren't on our list. And I've said this numerous times, that we don't have all of them. We get what is fed to us, and then also each department of the county belongs to normally some type of a lobbying group through their association. And those groups also track bills. So we all have to work together, and it was, my initial interpretation of the idea of having a Senate and House bills listed on each one was the fact that each one of those departments could bring forward information at their committee meeting to allow us to be able to get on board and help them in relationship to what was going on. And some of the information they'd rather not have us have access to. So that's a two-way street. So when it comes down to that, but it's an ongoing process, and it certainly is. Like I expressed to the chairman the other day, it's like making sausage. It isn't a very pleasant process at all. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not aware of any state of Illinois items need to be addressed. Is there anything to go to the order? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. By Tina, seconded by.
I'm ready.
Gary. Okay. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?